A phone rings at an IT help desk. The man on the line sounds tired and a little embarrassed. He is locked out of his account again. He knows his job title. He knows his manager's name. He knows what month he started. Everything he says checks out, because everything he says came off LinkedIn that morning. By the hacker's own account, that call lasted about 10 minutes. When it ended, the polite, embarrassed man on the phone owned the keys to one of the largest casino companies on Earth. Slot machines froze mid-spin. Hotel room keys stopped opening doors. The ATMs went dark. Guests stood in the lobby of the most surveilled buildings in America, while staff wrote their room numbers down on paper. When MGM Resorts finally added it up for the Securities and Exchange Commission, the number was $100 million. Here is the part nobody was ready for. When investigators finally put faces to the voices on those phone calls, they were not looking at Russian professionals. They were looking at kids. One of them was 15 years old. So how do you hunt a voice on a phone? This is the story of the 3 years it took to find out. It starts in September 2023. There is no virus in this story, no 0 day, no genius in a basement writing code nobody has ever seen. What there is a help desk, and a phone, and a person whose entire job is to be helpful. The group that made the call is known as Scattered Spider. Security researchers also track them as UNC 3944, as Octo Tempest, as Muddled Libra. The names multiply because the group barely has edges. It is not a company. It is a cluster of people who know each other from the internet. Their method is almost insultingly simple. You find a real employee on LinkedIn. LinkedIn will tell you their title, their department, their manager, the month they were hired. Then you call the help desk and you become them. You do not need to break the lock. You ask someone to open it for you, and you give them a reason to say yes. By the hacker's own account, the MGM call took about 10 minutes. At the end of it, they had administrator access to MGM's identity systems. Not one employee's account, the system that decides who every employee is. Then they invited someone else in. Scattered Spider did not write ransomware, they rented it. The supplier was a group called ALPHV, also known as Black Cat, and their business model was franchising. They wrote the encryption software, they took a cut, and other crews did the breaking in. According to the technical reconstructions, ALPHV's ransomware was deployed against roughly 100 of MGM's ESXi hypervisors. That word matters less than what it means. Those machines were not spreadsheets. They were the invisible floor underneath the slot machines, the booking system, the digital room keys, the websites. For about 10 days, MGM ran Las Vegas on paper. The hackers claimed they had taken 6 terabytes of data. That is their claim, not a confirmed figure. What is confirmed is what MGM told its investors. September occupancy on the Strip fell to 88%, down from 93% the year before. Less than $10 million in emergency consultants and lawyers, and a $100 million hit to earnings in a single month. MGM has never publicly said whether it refused to pay. What it said was that it shut everything down. Now here is the detail that turns this from a hack into a story. MGM was not first. Weeks earlier, the same technique had already worked on Caesars Entertainment. Caesars told regulators, in its own filing, that it was compromised through a social engineering attack on an outsourced IT support vendor. Same play. A phone call, a helpful human, a door held open. The attackers walked out with the Caesars loyalty database, which contained driver's license numbers and social security numbers for a significant number of members. And Caesars, according to Las Vegas prosecutors, reportedly paid about $15 million. 2 casinos, same crew, same month. One paid quietly and kept the slot machines spinning. One refused, or at least never admitted paying, and ate a $100 million crater in public. The house always wins, unless the house answers the phone. Now, the hunt. Think about what investigators actually had. A voice, a help desk ticket, a phone number that led nowhere. The attack itself left almost no fingerprints because the attack was a conversation. But the people were teenagers, and teenagers talk. In the days right after the Strip went dark, a member of Scattered Spider gave interviews to reporters, anonymously of course, bragging essentially in real time, while the room keys were still broken. That instinct, the need to be seen doing it, runs through this entire case. And it is the reason there is a case at all, because Scattered Spider did not come out of nowhere. Investigators describe them as part of a much larger online world called the COM. it grew out of gaming servers, where kids learned to hack in order to steal rare usernames and torment each other. Allison Nixon, the researcher at Unit 221B, who helped identify several of them, described one of the central figures as coming from those toxic servers, learning to break things to bully other kids, and then pointing that skill at people's savings. In that world, your name is your reputation. So you keep it for years. Across platforms, that is the mistake. Because before the casinos, this crew had spent years doing something much more traceable: SIM swapping. You call a phone carrier, you convince them to move a victim's phone number onto your SIM card, and every text message meant for them now comes to you. Including the login codes, SIM swaps leave records. Carriers log every port. Crypto leaves records too. The blockchain is a permanent public ledger of exactly where the money went. And that is how you hunt a voice. Not by tracing the call, by tracing everything the caller did before and after it. Meanwhile, their own supplier was falling apart. In December 2023, the FBI genuinely seized ALPHV's infrastructure and handed out a free decryption tool. Then in March 2024, ALPHV allegedly took a $22 million ransom from one of its own affiliates and simply kept it. And then ALPHV did something extraordinary. They posted a fake FBI seizure banner on their own leak site, a counterfeit police raid to cover their exit. Europol, the Department of Justice, and Britain's National Crime Agency all confirmed it was not them. ALPHV announced on a criminal forum that they had decided to completely close the project, offered to sell the source code, and vanished. The gang that helped shut down Las Vegas faked its own arrest and ran off with the money. There is no honor here, there is just the money and whoever grabs it last. The arrests came slowly and then all at once. Noah Michael Urban of Palm Coast, Florida, went by King Bob, also Sosa, also Gustavo Fring. He had used those names for years. When investigators searched his devices, they found roughly $4.8 million in stolen cryptocurrency sitting right there. Tyler Buchanan, 24, from Dundee, Scotland, known online as Tyler, was arrested by Spanish police in June 2024 as he tried to board a flight to Italy. Spanish police reported he controlled Bitcoin worth more than $27 million at that moment. In July 2024, British police arrested a 17-year-old in connection with the MGM hack. He was bailed pending trial, and in September 2025, a teenager from Illinois walked into the Clark County Juvenile Detention Center in Las Vegas and turned himself in. Prosecutors say he was 15 years old when the strip went dark. He is charged with extortion, conspiracy to commit extortion, and unlawful acts regarding computers. He has not been convicted of anything. Prosecutors are trying to have him tried as an adult, now the reckoning. And this is where the story demands precision, because these are living people, and the law cares about the difference between accused and convicted. In August 2025, Noah Urban became the first Scattered Spider member sentenced in an American federal court. 10 years in federal prison. $13 million in restitution. The judge went past what prosecutors asked for, but read the charge sheet carefully. Urban was sentenced for ATT&CK swapping and stealing cryptocurrency, not for the casinos. In April 2026, Tyler Buchanan pleaded guilty in an American court to wire, fraud, conspiracy, and aggravated identity theft, admitting to at least $8 million in stolen crypto. He is scheduled to be sentenced in August and faces up to 22 years. Again, that plea covers the phishing spree that hit Twilio and LastPass and DoorDash, not the casinos, which leaves the strangest fact in this entire case. Years later, nobody has been convicted of hacking MGM resorts, but this week, the hunt caught up with somebody. On the 16th of July, 2026, at Woolwich Crown Court in London, 2 young men were sentenced to 5.5 years each. Talha Jubair, aged 20, and Owen Flowers, aged 18. The charge was not Las Vegas, it was transport for London. In 2024, they took down the network that runs the London Underground. 148 systems knocked out, £29 million. All 27,000 staff had to physically walk into an office to have their passwords reset by hand. Flowers also admitted attacking American hospital systems. The court heard he understood that locking down a hospital network might, in his words, kill some 90-year-old on life support. And Owen Flowers, according to reporting by Krebs on security, was the Scattered Spider member who anonymously gave those interviews to the media in the days after the Las Vegas attacks. The kid who talked to reporters about Las Vegas is going to prison, just not for Las Vegas. Jubair is not finished either. He still faces an American indictment in New Jersey, which alleges roughly 120 network intrusions, 47 American victims, and more than $115 million in ransom payments. Those are allegations. If convicted on all counts, he faces up to 95 years. And the hunt is still running. In June 2026, a 19-year-old named Peter Stokes was extradited from Finland after being intercepted at Helsinki airport with 2 hard drives, trying to board a flight to Japan. He is charged with conspiracy, computer intrusion, and fraud. He is presumed innocent, and his case has not gone to trial. MGM, for its part, settled $45 million to resolve the class actions over its breaches, approved in June 2025, and paid out that December. So added up, $100 million in damage. A city's worth of hotel rooms opened by hand, $45 million in settlements. And at the center of it, a group of teenagers who never wrote a single line of exotic code. They didn't beat the security. Las Vegas spends more money watching people than almost any industry on earth. Cameras over every table. Facial recognition at the door. Vaults, guards, counters, audits. All of it pointed at the floor. And the whole thing came apart because somebody picked up a phone and was nice to a stranger. That is the lesson the casinos paid $100 million to learn. The most sophisticated security system in the world still has a person at the end of it, and that person has been trained their entire career to be helpful. They got caught the same way. Not because the FBI cracked their code, because they kept their usernames, because they left the money on their laptops, because they couldn't resist calling a reporter. The house always wins in the end. It just takes 3 years, and by then, the guy who took down the strip is old enough to buy a drink on it. And that's the Racket. If you want more of these, subscribe. A new one every week.